What's up, my fuckies? It's the hater back once again. It's Wednesday night, which means an AEW review up in this piece. Before we start, I'd like to remind everyone to subscribe today to the hater channel. I was looking at my analytics, just playing around with them, and I noticed that a lot of the people that are viewing this, not this video specifically, but I'm sure this one as well, but all my videos, about half seem to not have done the right thing. And that's hit the subscribe button and hit that bell icon. Motherfuckers, you understand what I'm saying? Which makes sense because I have 200 subscribers or so. And my videos are, now, I mean, we're at a point now where some of my videos are getting like, even 1,000 views up in this bitch, motherfuckers. So some of you are not hitting that subscribe button, and you should. Because if you do, then you get a shout out. So for example, one of my main boys right here, who goes by the name of Fuck Roman Hall Hates Smarks, commented and said, I'm a new sub. So, Fuck Roman Hall Hates Smarks, welcome to the family, motherfucker. So there you go. You are everyone that subscribes and either shows up as a notification that subscribed or writes in the comments, I've subscribed or anything of that nature, will get a shout out and will be embedded in my memory forever as one of the real ones, motherfuckers. But all of you are real ones as far as I'm concerned. You know, I still remember some of my first subscribers. Lars Henry, remember him? Fucking Liver Bird or whatever. He's a Liverpool fan. I like him. And, you know, we got some good ones. Play Tendo. He comments a lot. Smart Killer. You know him, motherfuckers. So there you go. And a lot more. Jermaine Gilroy, of course. You know, the usuals. Maybe that's what I'll call them. The usuals. We got the core four, the hateful eight. Anyways, everybody knows all about that. Now let's get to the show. Pin this bitch. There were a lot of bad things, but there were some good things. And as usual, the hater always gives credit where credit is due. And let's also not forget Face Isma Styles, who always comments with smart shit. I like him, motherfuckers. And of course, my main man, Abdullah. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of you guys, but these are the people that comment. And some of them that I mentioned are new subscribers. So if you want to be like them, popular and cool, motherfuckers, subscribe today. And it costs you nothing. Unlike the WWE Network, which costs $9.99, this costs you $0, motherfuckers. So do me a favor and do yourselves a favor. Subscribe and click the little bell icon so you don't miss any of my videos. Because I post a lot of videos, and a lot of times, I don't post them regularly in the sense that you're always going to get a video on Monday, except for this Monday, motherfuckers. You got that video yesterday. You're always going to get, even Monday, you got a video. So you're always going to get a video Monday. You're always going to get a video on Wednesday. And I'm going to review every pay-per-view. But once in a while, my most popular videos are things like 25 reasons why AEW sucks or AEW fans suck. And those I don't announce. So you don't want to miss out on those. Those are the real ones, motherfuckers. So anyways, now let's get to the show. The show starts, Jon Moxley comes out. They pan to the arena to show that the arena is full. Now, of note is the fact that this arena is smaller than usual, you know, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with having small arenas. You know, you're not going to sell out 40,000 seaters or 20,000 seaters every time. Sometimes you're going to sell out a few thousand tickets. There's nothing wrong with that. But they pan out to make it seem as if the arena is full. Keeping in mind that later they make a mistake, and I'll talk about that later. Jon Moxley comes out through the crowd, and on the little thing in the bottom, a little banner in the bottom, it says Jon Moxley, says that he holds the record for the quickest win in AEW history at 1 minute and 9 seconds against, I forget who gives a shit, you understand me? So he comes out and he wrestles, I think his name is Alex Reynolds, or you know that jobber tag team, the bald guy, the short bald guy, and the guy with long hair. He wrestles a long-haired guy, beats him in about 12 seconds. You know, I did not like this because the fact that they showed that the record was 1 minute and 9 was foreshadowing, was a precursor to him breaking that record. It was kind of whack. So basically what happens is he just runs into the ring, knees the guy in the face, hits the elevated paradigm shift, pins him 1, 2, 3. The other guy comes in, gets like a normal dirty deeds, right? So that was what it was. The match just served as an opener to the real segment, which was Inner Circle coming out, and they offered Jon Moxley a place in the Inner Circle. Their argument is that if he were to join them, Nothing can stop them. And JR and Tony Schiavone and Excalibur were agreeing with this. You know, they're like, yeah, like what would stop them then? And it got me thinking, you know, this whole ranking system doesn't really leave room for factions. There's no reason to be in a faction if there's a ranking system. You understand what I'm saying? Right? Because since you're competing directly against people, like Jericho should have no incentive to help someone like Sammy Guevara win a match. Because if Sammy Guevara gets a good enough record, he will get a title shot against Jericho, thereby ruining the faction. There are no mid-card titles. So with there being no mid-card titles, what is Sammy Guevara's purpose? What is Jack Swagger's purpose? Kayfabe-wise, they're supposed to be like Jericho's like right-hand people, right? But the reality is that if they start winning matches, not Jack Swagger, he hasn't had a match yet, but if they start winning matches, right, they would eventually have to go after Jericho. It just is how it is. There's no way around it. So it makes me question the need for stables, right? Tag teams you of course need, but stables you don't need in this format. And of course, I personally believe that stables are really the bread and butter of wrestling. Wrestling is driven, in my opinion, by stables. If you don't have stables, it's boring. You understand? So anyways, they come out and they try to recruit Jon Moxley into their stable. Now, why the hell would Jon Moxley want to be in their stable when he's next in line for a title shot? You know, even if he wants to join them, he should have the match first. Then he can join the stable and they can have like a kind of like a main event mafia type thing, you know, where like it's either Kurt Angle or Sting, who's the Godfather. Like Kurt Angle was a leader for a while, but Sting was the champion, and it created and added a dynamic to it, motherfuckers. So anyways, that was a complete waste of time. Another thing that was a complete waste of time, and has been for about 10 weeks or whatever, is the existence of Jack Swagger. The fact that they signed Jack Swagger would lead someone that's reasonable and intelligent to believe that someone like Jack Swagger is going to start having matches and start winning matches left and right, right? Not just being there as a big guy. If you need someone to be the big guy, why would you pay Swagger probably more than you would pay like a Wardlow, you know? Find another Wardlow and have him be like Jericho's enforcer. You know what I mean? The only reason you should be paying Swagger is if he's having matches. You bring in Swagger, who's a recognized name, and you put him in matches. That's the only purpose that he has. Otherwise, if you just want a big guy to hang around fucking Jericho, bring in Wardlow and then give MJF another Wardlow or something, right? It makes no sense. It's a complete waste. I don't care anymore at all about Jack Swagger. Any interest I had in him is gone. When Jack Swagger debuted and some of my friends went crazy, the implications were that they went crazy because we're going to get to see Jack Swagger wrestle in AEW. And I'm sure we will, but we haven't yet. And that's a big problem. The Inner Circle, Jericho gives Moxley a shirt, an Inner Circle shirt. He puts it on Moxley's shoulder and says, "You don't need to answer now, kid." So the inevitable Jon Moxley saying, "I'm not joining your team" promo, or the alternative, "I'm joining your team and then I'm going to betray you" the same show promo is not happening today, motherfuckers, so get over it. Next, we have I was going to say the first match because, you know, it feels like the first match, but I forgot that Jon Moxley beat the jobber. So now we have the second match of the night. That's right, motherfuckers. It's CodyRhodes and QT Marshall. I think the philosophy was that QT Marshall was chosen as Cody's partner by MJF because that's just how it is now for some reason, right? So the two of them are going to wrestle against the debuting Butch and Bottom, motherfuckers. I decided to call Butcher and Blade the Butch and the Bottom because that's what they look like. Allie comes out as well. She's the bunny. Remember her, right? I have an issue with this. Why is she the bunny? Why can't she just be Allie? Does her dressing up as a bunny add anything to this team? No, it adds nothing to this team because they're the Butcher and the Blade. If she was like, I don't know, the assistant or something, I don't know, whatever, someone that would work in like a butcher shop, then all right, fine, you know? But the bunny? That makes absolutely no sense. Things of note here were that when Butch and Bottom came out, their music was not at all what I would expect their music to be. Now, this is a small gripe. I'm not going to pretend this is a huge deal. But the facts speak for themselves, right? Their music is like some death metal-y type music. Their gimmick is that it's supposed to be these two crazy guys. So they should have this like, or that's what I think it is, because they just wrestle like two normal wrestlers. So either their gimmick should be that, and their music should be commensurate to that, like some sort of dark-ish type music, or something like, I don't want to say steampunky, because that's kind of like fucked up to say, it's just stupid to say, but something like that, right? Or, in my opinion, their theme song based on the fact that they look like clowns with their stupid hair, their cul-de-sac hairstyle, and the fact that Butch wears a monocle, their theme song should have been something along the lines of this. Butcher and Blade. That's what I would have made their theme song. They come out. The match was crap. I did not like it at all. It was a complete botch fest. QT Marshall, he actually did better, I think, than most people, but he had a few significant botches. He did this cartwheel plancha, and he had to use his, he did the cartwheel, and then when he jumped out of the ring, he had to use his hands to grab the top rope to spin out, right? The entire premise of doing the cartwheel is to gather momentum, so you don't have to grab the rope. But he had to grab the rope anyways. But it is what it is. He's a big guy. For some reason, he kept fixing his trunks. Maybe he needs to buy new trunks that fit him because he just kept fixing them. And he just looked like a complete jobber. They're I get that's kind of his thing. His gimmick basically is that he's such a jobber that even in AEW, he's a jobber, But he did it. He held his own to a degree. He did what I'm assuming is his finisher, which was he's on the top turnbuckle in a moonsault position, and then jumps backwards, turns around, and does a swanton. Only problem is he completely missed it. He made no contact with bottom being the blade. So he hits that, misses. Meanwhile, CodyRhodes does a suicide dive outside to Butch, and Butch is on his knees already. So CodyRhodes does this ridiculous suicide dive to further take him out of the match. Meanwhile, QT Marshall does the swanton thing I just mentioned and fails because Bottom kicks out. And this was just foolish because after that, right, as Bottom and QT Marshall are fighting in the ring, Butch on the outside gets up and just pulls CodyRhodes off the apron. So the entire suicide dive spot was useless because ultimately Butcher defeated CodyRhodes on the outside. He whooped his ass, right? Which opened the door for the two of them to go in there. At this point, it had been 2 or 3 minutes since this match went from a tag match, which is what it was supposed to be, to essentially a tornado tag match, right? Everyone was wrestling everyone in the ring. Butch comes in the ring. The referee's like, yo, get out, man. One of you needs to get out. And the referee starts counting. Now, everybody knows, right? Anybody that watches wrestling knows that in wrestling, the partner, the tag team partner who is not the legal man, can be in the ring for up to 5 seconds before they get disqualified. The referee in this match did not know this rule because he starts counting and he counts past 5 on to 7. So what is he counting to? 5 is the, I've got till 5. 5 for any kind of rope break. Any kind of, the premise is this. Any kind of illegal activity in wrestling that is prolonged must be stopped before the count of 5. Because if it goes to 5, you get disqualified. That's the rule. But Butcher and Blade are just in the ring fighting QT Marshall, who's trying to fight them both. Eventually, they overwhelm him with double team moves. And they hit their finishing move, which I think Excalibur said is called the full deck. I don't know why it's called the full deck. It should be called something like straight up the butchering or something like that. Something that fits their whatever the fuck their character is, But it's basically the end of Heartache that Roderick Strong, a jobber in NXT, does by himself as a finishing move. For them, it's a double team move. They do it, they kind of botch it, and they pin QT Marshall. This was not entertaining. I am completely underwhelmed by the debut of Butch and Bottom. I did not like them. They were not fun at all. It wasn't good, man. It just the match wasn't good. Butcher and Blade didn't go over at all. It was not entertaining. The bunny has no reason to be there. It was dumb, right? And also apparently they're on MJF's bankroll, right? MJF is the one who brought them to AEW. It's whatever. Fuck it. Yeah. At the end, Darby Allin comes out to encourage CodyRhodes, and JR or one of the announcers just say something like, I think both of them, two of the announcers said something like, well, CodyRhodes has no friends, but it looks like he's got at least one now in Darby Allin. And I'm like, what? What about the Young Bucks and Adam Page and KennyOmega, who are supposed to be the elite, the people he started the company with? They're not his friends all of a sudden? CodyRhodes is alone? What about Goldust, his brother? So Why would Cody Rhodes need to look for a tag partner when he has his brother there with whom he was tag team champions with? It makes no sense, man. Like you can't just like pile on these ridiculous like caricatures onto Cody Rhodes. He's not interesting enough, number one, and two, he has too many. Like he's the son of Dusty Rhodes. He's pretend Ric Flair, pretend Triple H, pretend Vince McMahon. He's got his wife who's in the company, but she's not his wife anymore. She just like wears like sexy clothes now and cuts people's hair, right? She should be with the butcher and the blade. Call her the barber. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, he's got all these people around him, but yet he's alone. He like two months ago, or whatever, not even 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, he had an entrance with his wife, his dog, DDP. Like he had like an entourage of people, and now he's alone all of a sudden, right? Everything just seems to be happening to Cody. People betray him. He beats them. They become irrelevant. So I don't like Cody Rhodes at all. That's not a secret. His entrance seemed especially long and especially stupid today as well. Like he got his usual elaborate entrance, and QT Marshall just walked behind him. And it was just stupid. It was just bad. Anything with Cody is just atrocious in my opinion. Next, MJF and Wardlow come out and they bully a plant. Like the guy, he was a plant, obviously, right? Apparently he was there last week too. Nobody noticed him, but he like laughed when MJF did the horrible version of the Crossroads. So MJF says, "Kiss my ring," right? And apologize, kiss my ass, right? So the guy kisses his ring, and the announcers are like, "Oh, so disrespectful." And this guy, who was a plant, was a big dude, man. This guy would destroy MJF. Like in a fight, based only on physical appearances. And MJF does not give me this impression that he's this like tough guy or anything like that. This guy looked like he would eat him alive. But he kisses the ring, which made sense. He turns around, Wardlow standing right there, who intimidates him. MJF grabs him and hits the Crossroads, which is called the double cross when MJF does it. And MJF puts over the fact that he did it really well. Then MJF begins his promo. I personally enjoyed this promo. Number one, MJF gets booed. This was actually a pretty great segment because MJF gets booed. People like him, right? A lot of people recognize that he's a talented guy. I can't believe I'm saying that a wrestler in AEW is talented, but he is. And he's recognized as such, but he still gets booed, which I like. Because nowadays, if the smarks, if the beards like you, you don't get booed. It's as simple as that. Even if you're a heel, like Kevin Owens has been a heel for a long time until recently, and he was always cheered, even though he's doing despicable things. He just gets cheered, right? Because, oh, it's Kevin Owens, it's Kevin Steen, kill Steen, kill, right? All that nonsense. Whereas, like, faces like Seth Rollins get booed. I don't even know why I started booing Seth Rollins. I guess because after Hell in a Cell, but whatever. Like, it's so dumb. Like, Seth Rollins, Seth Rollins as a heel makes sense because he's right. He's like, I mean, he cut the same promo that every, like baby face, like super baby face that turns heel cuts. You didn't show me the respect. I did everything right. I'm not as cool as John Cena or Roman Reigns, so this is what I got. Whatever, it is what it is. But anyways, MJF cuts a promo. The promo was great. He calls Cody Rhodes fake, which I liked because Cody Rhodes is fake, right? He makes fun of Cody's hair. And more importantly, he makes fun of Cody's lisp. He says, "Cody, you have a stupid lisp." And he goes, "Thuffer and fuckatash," right? He just makes fun of him for like his speech impediment, which I like. And the fans are booing. And he's like, "Oh, what?" He's like, "Did I go too far?" This guy really knows how to work the crowd. Like, I don't think like he's as good as people say he is. Like, I don't think he's great in the ring at all by any stretch of the imagination. I kind of think he's shit in the ring from what I've seen, to be honest. He doesn't have a good look. Like, he's like weird looking. I don't know how to explain it. Like, people are like, "Oh, he's like EC3. No, EC3 is like a handsome guy. And he's jacked. Right? Now, MJF is in good shape, don't get me wrong, especially by AEW standards, but he's not like, he's got like a weird face, like the face of a geek, even though he's not a geek. Like you can tell in real life, this guy is like how he presents himself. Like, he's not a loser. He's not a dweeb. He's a guy that is charismatic. He has actual natural charisma, but it's something about his look, his face, I don't like it. So if they give him a new gimmick, which, I mean, controversial to say because this gimmick is working pretty well for him, but I think if this guy, if they found the perfect gimmick for him, whatever that may be, he actually could be a star. He might actually even be like something like the United States, whatever, the North American champion on AEW. I mean, on NXT, motherfuckers. So there you go. That happens. And MJF says that he's down to fight Cody, and he's going to reveal the stipulations for their match, but not in stupid Texas, whatever, Podunk, white trash, Texas. He's going to reveal it elsewhere. He's going to reveal it in whatever, Jacksonville, wherever they're going to do their show next, I think. Right? They're really positioning next week's episode to be like a pay-per-view-ish episode, because they're not going to have pay-per-views all the time. So, like, next week's episode is like a payoff episode. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of things are going to come together. We'll talk about that in a bit. Then we have a Dark Order promo segment, a little vignette, right? And it shows the jobber that Dean Ambrose beat earlier. He's sitting in a hotel room, and Dark Order is like, yo, are you tired of losing? And they talk directly to him through the TV. And his partner comes out and he's like, who are you talking to? And then the guy's like, I don't know who I'm talking to. This was actually kind of fun because hopefully they take these two guys, whatever they call them, like the Beaver Club or whatever, right? These two jobbers, and put them in Dark Order because they're actually not bad. These two jobbers, I've seen them like on the indies, not on the indies, but on an indie show here and there. And they impressed me. Like, for what they were, they impressed me. And I'll explain the difference, If you ever go to, like, a real indie show, like, even, like, CZW, but, like, somewhere below that, right? Like, those, like, promotions they have on the East Coast and, like, the Midwest. If you go to those where it's, like, a bunch of nobodies, like, complete nobodies who, like, will never make it, Like, where the champion is, like, a 45-year-old guy who's been in that indie promotion for, like, 20 years, right? If you go to those, you really see that there are levels to this, right? That there is a level of wrestler that is just so bad that they will never ever make it out of the indies, no matter what, And some of these indies produce good stars, but there's a lot of people that aren't going to be stars from these indies, right? They just aren't going to be stars, and they're just horrible in the ring. They're undersized, etc., etc. I remember I was at such a show, and this tag team was there, and they stood out. Like, they're still smaller than the average tag team, but they stood out. Like, they were fast, they were explosive, they were doing good moves. I remember them for a reason, right? And in that same show, the one where I saw this tag team, there were a lot of wrestlers from this independent promotion that just looked really small. And one of the guests this time around was Damian Sandow, who had just been released by WWE. And he was really cool, actually, because after the match, he was in the main event. After the match, he went to the crowd, shook people's hands, took pictures with them. He didn't have to. He had set up his table during, like, the halftime, whatever, the intermission, to make some money. But, like, Mickey James was there, too. There was, like, a few good stars there, including, I think, Ric Flair, right? That's the one that my friend took me to so I could meet Ric Flair. And he had set up his table, and a lot of people were, like, waiting in line for him. And some of them didn't get to do it. And then he took pictures for free with people after the match. And my friend, who's like a very casual wrestling fan, like he used to watch back in the day a little bit, and he just went with me for my birthday. He just took me there for my birthday. And he pointed out, he was like, about Damian Sandow. He's like, this Damian Sandow guy, right, is about like 3 times bigger than everyone here, right? So Damian Sandow, who was never considered this big guy in WWE, like not a small guy, but he was never been like no one ever said like, wow, what an athlete, what a specimen Sandow is, In these indie feds, he looked like a specimen, and he towered over these people. He towered even over the big guys of that indie fed. So I'm glad that the Beaver Club or whatever is getting, hopefully is going to join Dark Order, and I don't even care what they do at that point. It doesn't matter. But hopefully they get something. I want these guys to be signed because they've worked hard, Now, of course, that being said, they're complete jobbers, but, like, give them a shot. If you're going to give Butcher and Blade a shot, it is what it is, Butch and Bottom. One of them looks like a really burly dude. I like him, actually. He might be a single star. And then the other one is just a small, bottomish looking dude. He's just a small guy. He's in great shape, but he's just a small guy. He just looks like a tiny person, like a cruiserweight, So, like, he makes CodyRhodes look like a giant. So that's why they're called the Butch and Bottom, not for any other reason, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, after that, well, what happened? Yeah. So after that, we have the big debut of Big Swole, motherfuckers. Big Swole was a girl. She was all right, I guess. She wrestled Emi Sakura. The match was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. I'm not even exaggerating. It went on way too long. Emi Sakura is atrocious. At one point, she brought in the little mic stand, where she holds her microphone, and she applied an abdominal stretch on Big Swole while holding onto the mic and pretending to sing. The referee tried to pull away from her. This led to like a few mic stand spots where Big Swole took it and started like dancing a little bit, pretending she was singing, right? She did like some James Brown moves, I guess, right? The little, little foot shuffle thing. And it was so bad that JR had to bury this completely. JR was like, what? Emi Sakura is getting mad that she can't use her mic stand? He's like, give me a break, man. Like, basically, like, how retarded is this for us to even like talk about it, It is what it is. Big Swole wins after hitting like a ripcord spinning elbow. It was all right for a move. Big Swole has going nowhere written all over her. There's clearly the people that are positioned to be the stars. Brandy Rhodes, Awesome Kong, Britt Baker. That's it. Everybody else is a jobber at this point, Maybe the Statlander broad. Who knows, right? So anyways, then we have Pac cutting a lispy promo. Apparently, Pac also has a lisp. What's up with all these lisps? Anyways, Pac's promo is that he wants a rubber match against KennyOmega because he won the first one, Kenny won the second one, so they should have a third one, right? Which I don't think anybody would want to see that, but it is what it is. And at the end of the promo, Pac says that if he doesn't get the match, he won't be held accountable for what he does next, which is a very stupid thing to say because that's not how accountability works. Legally or logically, moron, you will be held accountable if you do something and they're like, no, we're not going to fire you for this. We're going to fine you for this. What he was trying to say is basically the blood will be on your hands. Like basically placate me, right? Otherwise, I'm going to do some horrible things, which is kind of what he said, except it came off stupid because he said, I'm not going to be held accountable for this. No, that doesn't make any sense. People say it a lot and it makes no sense and I don't like it. Next, we had Kip Sabian and Tyedillenger versus Kenny and Hangman. The story of this match was Tully Blanchard is looking for a partner for Tyedillenger because Tully Blanchard was in a great tag team once, and therefore, because of that reason, right, he understands something about putting together a good tag team. So he decided that Tyedillenger was not going to be in a tag team, and that tag team might include Kip Sabian, motherfuckers. This was just atrocious. The match went on. Adam Page and KennyOmega were doing all right. KennyOmega did there was one point before he did the V-trigger in the end, he did literally 3 consecutive different taunts. Then he hit the V-trigger and blind tag by Adam Page, who does the buckshot lariat and wins. This didn't upset Kenny. But the reason why they did this on Kip Sabian was because at some point in the match, the lights went out, and when they turned back on, Joey Janela had kidnapped Tully Blanchard and tied him to a chair. Why did the lights need to go out for this? The smarter thing would have been he just wheels, Tully Blanchard out in a wheelchair, tied to the wheelchair, right? Not the lights go out. What the hell? That makes no sense. Whatever. This was like, as a match, it was all right, but because it makes no sense kayfabe-wise, because maybe one day Tyedillenger will be a tag guy, but KennyOmega and Hangman Page are not a tag team, right? Unless they become a tag team, I guess. But as far as we know, they're not a tag team. So why would they care if they win a tag match? Normally, in other federations, like WWE, for example, motherfuckers, it matters. Because if you're in a tag match against, let's say the champion. So, for example, let's imagine that we have, Dominic Dijakovic and Keith Lee, and they're in a tag match against Adam Cole and Roderick Strong. And Keith Lee were to pin Adam Cole, which is kind of what happened last week in the 6-man match, right? This automatically vaults Keith Lee to a situation where his argument is, I've pinned the champion, right? In this context, that makes no sense because you have a ranking, right? So why the hell would Adam Page or KennyOmega care about bolstering their win-loss ratio in tag matches, since it has no bearing whatsoever on their singles record, which is what matters to them? So that's why I didn't like it. The match itself was all right. Next, we had Brandy Rhodes. She was in a hotel room. It was so cheesy because she was straight up in a hotel room. They didn't film this in a studio or backstage or anything like that. They filmed this straight up in a hotel room. She probably just checked in, put on that dress, which looked great, by the way, and just cut her promo. Yeah. And the promo was she basically buried Riho. She made some good points, Riho isn't there ever, right? And she also says that Britt Baker sucks, and she's Adam Cole's girlfriend. I keep mentioning that. Like, if you're AEW, you shouldn't even mention Adam Cole. Why the hell? Like, there have to be a few fans out there. I know I said that there are no lapsed fans, and I don't think there are. But there have to be a few fans out there that might not watch NXT or might not know about NXT. They might be just like Raw watchers that tune into AEW and they hear, oh, Britt Baker, she's kind of cool, right? I mean, why anyone would say that is beyond me. And then they hear, oh, she's married to Adam Cole. Who the hell is Adam Cole? Is he like an actor or something? Maybe he's a rapper. Who knows? They search him. They find, boom, Adam Cole, NXT champion. They're like, what the hell is NXT? They start watching NXT. Why the hell would you mention the NXT champion on your show in any capacity? You know? But they did because they're not very smart. So then she says she wants to recruit Statlander because Statlander's gimmick is that she's an alien. And Brandy Rhodes is looking for an alien. Then she brings up the broad from last week whose head was shaved. And she doesn't say anything. And then there's this other shaved person, I think it's a guy, you couldn't really tell, with their back turned, sitting down on like a little desk. And she's like, not yet, right? This made no sense. It was really stupid. It's basically the same shit that she's been doing for weeks now that has had no resolution. You know, this show is, thus far, it's pretty much just been the elite doing whatever the hell they want. No one else is getting any TV time. And if they are, it's usually to lose to the elite. So it is, except for, of course, Jericho, right? But next week we have Statlander versus Britt Baker for the #1 contendership. Now, if this were WWE, this would make sense. Statlander beat Hikaru Shida, who had the best record. Britt Baker has the other best record. So the winner of this, logically, should be wrestling for the title, right? But, motherfucks, Statlander just had her first match, as far as I know, last week. So one match, and then another match, she becomes #1 contender? No. That's stupid. But that's what happened. Next, what do we have next? We had Jericho and Swagger come out, and they kick out Tony Schiavone and Excalibur and join JR on commentary. Jack Swagger says nothing. Sammy Guevara comes out. Sammy Guevara, his record is 0-3 in singles matches. And JR says, well, I got a lot of flack for comparing him to Eddie Guerrero. And then Jericho's like, everyone that said that is a stupid moron. Look at this guy. He's the next Eddie Guerrero. He's the next Jericho. He's the next this. He's the next that, right? And just like, this guy's 0-3, man. Like, he sucks. Like, kayfabe-wise, why the hell would Jericho even want this guy to be in his stable? It makes no sense. What would be the point? Like, you're a loser. You just keep losing. So it was Sammy Guevara versus Luchasaurus. Luchasaurus whoops that ass. Luchasaurus is impressive, man. I like Luchasaurus. He hits the Tombstone Age, which is his finisher, and pins Sammy Guevara. He gets attacked by Jericho and Swagger. Marco's Stunt and Jungle Boy are outside. They join in on the fray. Ultimately, Jericho throws Jungle Boy out of the ring. Jungle Boy skins the cat, does like a Hurricane Rana pin on Jericho, right? And Marco Stunt goes in the ring and counts 1, 2, 3. So symbolically, Jungle Boy just pinned Jericho, right? Obviously, this wasn't a match, so it doesn't count. But because they're having their match next week, they're trying to say, like, look, Jungle Boy can beat Jericho. Now, here's the problem with this. Jungle Boy is 0-7. He has not pinned anyone. So he shouldn't even be anywhere close to pinning Jericho, even in a situation like this. It doesn't make any sense. It's really stupid. And obviously he's going to lose, but whatever, you know. Luchasaurus is cool, so that part of the segment was pretty tight. Next up, in this bitch, we have Out and Proud, who are no longer called Out and Proud or whatever, Proud and Powerful. They're now just called Santana and Ortiz, it looks like, which I like, because Proud and Powerful is just stupid, man. It really, like, Out and Proud makes as much sense as Proud and Powerful. Like, what are they proud of? Like, what is there to be? They haven't done anything yet. And Powerful, they're tiny dudes. They're like 5'10" and 5'8". Like, they're not powerful guys. They're not like, you know, that Proud and Powerful would make more sense for the Butcher and the Blade. You know, they're proud for whatever they're proud of. At least they're powerful, because the Butcher is huge and Blade is like jacked, even though he's a small man. So anyways, they come out. They're going to have a #1 contenders match with the Young Bucks. Again, rankings and #1 contenderships make no sense. If someone is 5-0 and they wrestle a guy that's 3-0, even if the 3-0 guy wins, he becomes 4-0 and the other guy becomes 5-1. He still has more wins. So it's not clear who the superior one is. I don't know their records, but this ranking system is just a waste. So anyways, match starts. They get blindsided by, the Young Bucks get blindsided by Ortiz, Santana, and Sammy Guevara. Brandon Cutler comes to make the save. He just gets powerbombed through the stage, complete waste of time. This gives the Young Bucks enough time to just kind of overcome, and they start whooping that ass. They hit a indie taker on Sammy Guevara on the ramp, which was kind of cool because, the ramp is like a hardcore place. Then I think Nick Jackson does a swanton off like a stage structure onto a table onto Ortiz. Then they focus their attention on Santana in the ring. Santana escapes like a double powerbomb attempt, and the spot here was supposed to be Ortiz throws the little slapjack, whatever, the sock with the quote-unquote baseballs in it, and the guy's supposed to catch it and beat up the Young Bucks, but he doesn't catch it. He misses it because he sucks. He has like no hand-eye coordination. Like one time he tried to spit the gum and he missed completely. Like this guy he's probably like a horrible athlete, you know what I mean? So anyways, it is what it is. He eventually like kicks them and gets the slapjack. They called it something else, like the mad sock. I don't know. Who cares, right? And he beats them with it. Now, here's the problem with this. Obviously, it's tennis balls inside the sock, not baseballs. But it's so dumb. Because if it were baseballs and you hit someone with a sock full of baseballs in the head, they will be knocked out immediately. It's not even a question. They will definitely be knocked out. So, but they're beating them with these socks like all the time. You think like if they were baseballs, even in the stomach or in the back, the person would be just crippled. Like they would fall apart, So the match was actually not that good in my opinion. I expected a bit more because they pushed it as if it was this huge match. I thought Ortiz and Santana would win. They didn't. I don't know. Another thing that I didn't like was before the match started, JR was like, the match hasn't started officially, right? Because, even though it's a false count anyway, it's a street fight, it has to start in the ring, right? The bell has to ring, but it didn't. And despite the fact that it didn't start, Young Bucks went for a pin outside, and the announcer just kind of forgot the fact that the match never started, and we just kind of retconned it so that the match had in fact started all along, motherfuckers. You understand me? So, yeah, nothing really cool happened. One spot that I liked is Matt Jackson came in with a Cowboys helmet. Now, this is a hacky spot, but I liked it only because eventually Santana took the helmet from him and spat on it, which got a lot of heat because they were in Texas, and Santana and Ortiz are from New York, I guess. They're like Boricuas from New York, so which is a very interesting identity if you think about it, but that's neither here nor there. Because it's weird, like Puerto Ricans are Puerto Ricans, but New York Puerto Ricans are like they're like a very cohesive. They're almost like a different kind of Puerto Rican. It's kind of cool. But anyways, so they spat on the Cowboys helmet, which I thought was great, only for that reason. Ultimately, they lost the match after the Young Bucks hit a Meltzer driver on Ortiz, I think, on a few chairs. Before that, they pushed Santana off the turnbuckle. He landed on the apron and then did like a front flip through a table, right? He made it look as good as he could have, considering what was happening. But it just looked fake, like this guy didn't need to go through a table like from that, but he did, so who cares, right? After the match, SCU comes out and they stare down the Young Bucks while the announcers put over next week's episode, which is going to include the number one contenders match for the women's title, the tag team title match between now SCU and Young Bucks, and Jungle Boy Jack Perry, motherfuckers, versus Chris Jericho for the AEW title. And we're going to find out the stipulations between Cody and MJF. I guess they're probably saving that match for the next pay-per-view because that's a big deal kind of match, So we'll see. And we'll see what happens. Also, I think it's Kenny Omega and Adam Page are wrestling, I think, the Lucha Brothers next week as well. So it's gonna be a fun little show, Probably not that many promos, but we'll see how it goes. Anyways, motherfuckers, thanks for listening once again. If you haven't yet, if you've been living under a rock and have yet to click subscribe today on the video that you're watching, you should do that right now before I start hating on y'all. So you understand what I'm saying? Stay tuned for more. We've reached 200 subscribers. I'm going to wait, I think, a little bit longer before I do like a Q&A, just so I have more more people that might have questions. So I wouldn't want to have like, I don't know, 2 subscribers tomorrow, let's say, and they have burning questions and they missed their shot at the first ever Q&A and hater mania, motherfuckers. So stay tuned for a bit more about that. This video went really long, but there was a lot to talk about in this bitch. So anyways, go fuck yourselves and go fuck yourselves some more. All right, motherfuckers.